Hello, welcome to the Ground Jewels. My name is James Dixon and I'm delighted you joined us this week. This week we have the wonderful Kate Mason talking tennis and talking Wimbledon centre court, and it is an incredibly fun chat. You'll see why straight away. Cards are on the table pretty soon during this chat, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did, and I know Kate did as well. In terms of we had a little chat afterwards. This is great. Kate is great, and everything's good. If you are new to the Ground Jewels, if you're coming to listen to Kate, that's wonderful. We also have a fantastic archive, including last week's episode with Uli Hess on the Westfalenstadion in Dortmund, and what a game we had midweek between Dortmund and Atletico. So Dortmund are progressing to the Champions League semi-finals. They'll get to, for the first time since 2013. So Dortmund has a Champions League semi-final to look forward to. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the Yellow Wall and Dortmund and German football, and we even cover a little bit of Cold War in there as well. It's quite wide ranging. Go back into the archive just 1 week, listen to Uli Hess. It's a really great show. And then we've got 20 more shows in the archive from the likes of Mike Bubbins, who's had a big week. He had a sitcom on BBC Two. Mammoth came out this week. He talks about Cardiff Arms Park. We've got Charles Dagnall talking about the Tampa Stadium, an NFL stadium. Ailey Doyle talking about Tynecastle, the runner. Ruth Madeley talking about Bolton Wanderers. Lots of really interesting people in our archive. So if you are new, feel free to explore. There's some great grounds and some great people there and some wonderful chats. However, we always do a little bit of stadium news, and it really is just a little bit of stadium news this week. Manchester United have had the first meeting of their task force chaired by Seb Coe to look at replacing Old Trafford, trying to make a world-class stadium in the northwest. And there's a lot of noise coming out about that at the moment, which I guess is positive. It feels like something is happening, and obviously Seb Coe is quite politically influential in sport and in the UK. He's former member of Parliament, etc. So potentially some good news there for United fans. That's all I want to do. I want us to get to Kate. I want us to get to this chat about centre court, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
Right, here we go. Congratulations and celebrations when I tell everyone that you're in love with me. Congratulations.
So today we're joined by Kate Mason. Kate is a very affable presenter and a kind person. Decent, thoughtful, clever and fair-minded, and only in the Telegraph could those words be used as a stinging criticism. Kate, welcome to the Ground Jewels.
Oh, thanks. That's very funny. That's amused me a lot. A couple of other people have started calling me affable after that as well. I don't know. I don't think I'd ever been called affable before, and then maybe it just leaches into people's consciousness. And now, yeah,
it's not a bad thing being affable.
No, it's terrible. It's terrible. You want people to be terrified of you in the sports broadcasting world, James, because otherwise, they'll just take an inch and whatever the phrase is. I'm hungover. Let's get that out there on the tables right away, shall we?
Yeah. So Kate's fresh off the Sports Journalism Awards.
Oh man, it's a good night. I can tell you that for free. Because you think it could go one of two ways with a whole bunch of sports journalists in a room, because famously quite hard drinking, right? Like the Fleet Street thing is that everyone's drunk all the time back in the day, but then now you've got younger generation coming through, and most people don't really know each other. It was all quite sweet, really. Like people sort of, and also how journalists, they sort of quite like to show they got editorial judgment and slag other people off all the time. So it can also go that way. But I don't know, maybe I was just the right side of tipsy. But I felt like there was quite a lot of love in the room. Just to take it down a notch, this great guy who had a guy called Mike Dixon, who had worked at the Mail, passed away unexpectedly. So there was a lot of references to him, and an award was named after him. So I think that kind of, there was a lot of love for that. And then of course there's all these people, there's awards for up and coming people, and they're all getting their first, sense of being part of the world of sports journalism. So they're all very excited. And I was talked about that longer than I expected to, but I actually thought it was quite lovely.
It is, and it's. I think those events, sort of post-COVID as well, people have might have been a bit more cynical. Certainly, like when I was at Sky, sometimes you get the, we've got a table, we've got a few spare seats, because I was very low down the pecking order. It's like, do you want to fill out this table? And sometimes you'd be like, nah, but like post-COVID, I think these opportunities to get together and to celebrate are kind of seized upon a bit more, and I do think that is nice.
Yeah, bloody Jamie Carragher showed up even. So yeah, putting the hard yards in, because they won Monday Night Football, won best programme or something. I tell you what, though, it's still a tough crowd. I present an award, which is, by the way, like the most terrifying thing you can do in the world, I think, in the world of things that aren't fundamentally that terrifying. Like, you can't win. You can only fuck it up. Like, we're only going to notice if you forget the name, or walk the wrong way off the stage, or stand there looking a bit weird,
or do the De Niro thing from the Oscars.
Exactly, yeah, which I did do, and so I'm not getting invited back.
It's a tough crowd. It's a very tough crowd.
Yeah.
But we had a little bit of trouble nailing down your ground jewel, didn't we?
Yeah.
You wanted to talk White Hart Lane, but Dotun Adebayo beat you to it.
Yeah.
Then we kicked around the Oval for an idea as a while, which would have been really interesting.
Yeah.
But eventually we've sort of settled on Centre Court Wimbledon. But before we talk Centre Court, I'm just a little bit fascinated because that sort of circuitous journey is a little bit reflected in your on-air career. Sort of usually TV really wants to pigeonhole people into quite confined niches, but you've been allowed to do lots of things: football, obviously, cricket, squash, cycling. I mean, squash doesn't even work on TV.
Oh wait, we can have a much longer podcast if you're going to claim that.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't work on TV. Do you have a sort of sporting love that stands out above all the others, or are you quite a sort of generalist when it comes to your fandom?
I think to speak specifically about the broadcasting idea, and then generally about fandom, the first time I thought it might be possible to do this sort of thing was London 2012, and seeing Claire Balding being at the centre of that whole thing, that whole incredible shindig, and knowing that she didn't, they talk up her kind of jockey background, but she's fundamentally not someone who's been a professional athlete, and she's such a fantastic broadcaster, and seeing her do that then was when I thought, oh bloody hell, people, women as well, people can actually do this if they want to, from various different walks of life. So I feel like the Olympics for me, as a broadcasting event, is one of the most special ones, and the one that there's something about it that's quite involving of everybody from so many different, and lots of athletes who aren't with football, everyone's got so much money, it's almost quite confronting sometimes, whereas with the Olympics you're just dealing with people who are just really like their sports. And so that doesn't really answer your question, except to say that I like lots of different sports, and I think I like spaces where lots of different sports are being covered, because I think the interesting thing about football, actually the interesting thing about lots of sports and lots of fans, is that they do like to just support one sport. They sort of, in some cases, people sort of hate lots of other sports. This is quite weird, guys, because, fundamentally, this is all just about having a nice time before we die. It's not. It's supposed to be fun, and the idea of competing and the idea of seeing the beauty of things that people can do that you can, that you can't do, stuff that's out of reach, is the same whether it's well, maybe not. I was going to say chess, but that's probably not quite right because I am talking about like athletic endeavour, whether it's netball or throwing a javelin or playing football, scoring a goal, playing cricket. It's all the same. Men, women, whatever. It's all the same. There's a few. I can't remember who it was said about, but I was watching The West Wing. I've started watching The West Wing for the first time.
Oh wow!
And Jed Bartlett, the president. I know, aren't I lucky? Jed Bartlett. At some point, there's a joke about him watching like women's softball or something.
He watches women's softball to unwind, and they're all taking the mick out of him.
Yes,
all his staff.
Yes,
and it's just like I'm very much aligned with you. I would watch whatever was on Grandstand.
Exactly.
It's just like sport is storytelling.
Yeah,
and you can enjoy it on a very superficial level. The 1-0, 2-1 sort of level, or you can get down to the very personal level and know the sort of the challenges that people are overcoming. But it's why I watch sport is because I like the unscripted, unpredictable nature of it, and I will put up with mediocrity after mediocrity for that special moment where you get an amazing last minute winner or someone achieves something brilliant, and it's natural drama.
I went to not White Hart Lane earlier in the season to see the Sheffield United game. I'm like away a lot with work and doing various other things. I don't think I've worked on. I mean, I do a football well, it's like an interview podcast, but football, called The Football Gods. So I do that kind of every week. But apart from that, I haven't done live. I'm not doing live football this season because of all this other stuff. And anyway, so I try and go to Tottenham when I can, but it's just for like, it's not like for the North London derby or whatever. It's just for random games. And so I got this Sheffield United game. And of course, you're just sort of there being like, oh, I'm going to have a nice day out. And then there's this unbelievable last minute winner. And it's the most incredible feeling ever. And of course, the moments previously you were thinking, oh, we've really bottled this, like down absolutely in the doldrums, people leaving. And then, as you point out, James, you get to unscriptedly have the best time ever just at this game that you would have thought probably would be a non-event.
It's the best. Sport is the absolute best. So, of all the sport and all the places, Centre Court of Wimbledon, obviously it's one of the sort of iconic venues, and it's a venue that I think most people experience through television first rather than going because it's so ubiquitous. What are your sort of first memories of Centre Court?
Well, can it be, I was going to say, can it be Centre Court and everywhere else in Wimbledon? Can we have kind of Centre Court within the grounds of Wimbledon as the kind of context of it?
If you've got some really strong Court 19 memories, let's hear them. But
what was the Isna Mahoo game? That was on.
Oh, that was 18. That was Court 18. So yeah, you can have that one.
But because I think it's about the like the environment and some of the joy of it. But in terms of Centre Court, of course, the first time you're seeing it is on TV. It's very organized to look at. It's very square and straight. It's stunning. It's like a aesthetically stunning place, and you can see where all the important people are sitting, which is like very British, I think, to have a sort of, it's got like wooden stuff around where the important people sit, so you can really identify it.
It's nice to have the class system
really, really enforced. This is not.
We know who the important people are in Centre Court, don't we? And they're not us.
And it's so weird because, and they, when they get people to stand up and all that. I don't know. Anyway, we could come on to that, but there's something just very organised about that first sight of it. And I can't, because I have a slightly poor memory for like specific dates and times and things like that, which is not totally useful in sports broadcasting. But I have a lot of spreadsheets, basically, but not of my childhood memories. I think it must have been a Tim Henman match of some kind that I was first experiencing. But I was also, when I was a child, very obsessed with Pete Sampras. Now, this is not the sort of thing that people necessarily want to be putting out into the world, because he's not an interesting guy. But I found, and that's this like famous thing, isn't it? He's just like, he'll just win and he won't really talk about it and he won't really make any kind of gestures. But I for some reason, especially as I'm quite a kind of, I like drama, I like go to the theatre. I like excitement and things being on tenterhooks and whatever, and people being wacky and, Nick Kyrgios as an example. But for some reason, I just thought he was the coolest guy ever. I thought there was something really cool about showing up and just winning all the time and not really looking all that fussed about it. So I'm not sure what that says. I don't know how young I must have been. You probably could figure it out using these dates, but I used to make posters to like hold up when we were watching the tennis on a lovely summer's day. And when I'd I'm terrible at drawing then and now, and I draw little tennis rackets on it. And I was like I was like a decent squash player, like played a bit of county, sort of could have been a contender, that sort of stuff. And I saw it as being associated. Now, squash people would tell you, per our conversation earlier, that it's completely different, and tennis people are the worst, and they take all the oxygen that squash deserves. That's bollocks. But I did see it as being like quite great that there was some like racket sport thing going on the telly, and I thought, yeah, all of these sort of semi-boring people, I thought they must have hidden depths, and I just like seeing them do their thing. And yeah, I think something about this like theatrical nature of the way centre court is set out, I think it really appealed to me. It was very organised. Like my parent, this is probably too much, but my parents didn't get on very well, and it was quite like turbulent. But there was something very, we could watch I was allowed to watch the tennis. I was not allowed to watch a lot of telly as a kid. I was one of these like, you've got to be doing your work and all that stuff, practicing the violin, doing your squash training. And so, yeah, I don't know. I was allowed to watch Wimbledon, and it was very organised. And I felt like I knew what was going to happen, and I could just sit there with my sad little poster and see what was going on.
So can I just, you're watching the tennis on the telly with a poster?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Good point. Good to clarify that. Yeah. Because I've never actually taken a poster to any sporting event.
You weren't one of the first people there with this poster saying, "Pete Sampras, can I have your shirt?" Or something like that.
It wasn't sexual. It wasn't.
No. I mean, like the kids who were all with the kids. And I'm not going to get into the hairiness, I promise. But these kids who turn up and like now, and they're like, whatever.
What do you think about that, James? It's not good.
Absolutely cringe.
Yeah.
Like my kid will not be like grabbing a selfie or talking to someone who's an athlete or a hero. I think is absolutely great. And if they have an opportunity to interact at, some of like the stuff that doesn't get broadcast very often, fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's very weird. And that most of those, I would say 90% of those end up on eBay through the dad.
Oh no.
I'm
don't know
sure
this.
of it.
Oh,
I'm
no.
sure of it. It's the same with those people who hang around like trying to get autographs, and they've got like all this stuff, and it's for my kid. It's not for your kid, is it? It's for you and your shit eBay store.
Oh no.
So you're at home. I think there's something there with that as well, because tennis and the way that it's sort of structured and scored, it's purposely dramatic in terms of the knife edge moments where you win a game or lose a game. And
I'm obsessed with paddle, or I'm obsessed with the rise of paddle. Do you know about this? Everybody's like, paddle's massive now.
I've played paddle for 10 minutes.
Have you? Oh, 10 minutes.
Why 10 minutes? Because I tore my ankle ligaments playing paddle.
Stop it. What were you doing?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to have to...
I was running backwards towards the wall. And I hit the ball, and my momentum kept going, and it just So I'm not a paddle fan. I'm aware of paddle though. It looks amazing.
Anyway, I was just gonna. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Are they better now? Are you healthy now?
No, it was about 4 months ago, and it's still.
Oh no!
Still difficult.
Yeah, okay, sorry. We probably shouldn't. I won't bring up the P word again, but it's. I don't know. They've got the same scoring system, haven't they? I can't understand the rise of paddle. I think it's great. It's great that everyone wants to play a sport with a bat, and it's all quite friendly. It's bloody expensive, though. I don't know if you. Yeah, you must. Well, your 10 minutes, you will know.
I think the guys let me off paying because of.
It was so sad.
I was just miserable and have been for the last 4 months. So, but it's fine. I could have been getting more into paddle. I've got more into podcasting. The other P. So it's fine.
God, sorry. I took us off on a sidetrack, unsurprisingly. Where have we got to?
So so your first experience is sort of you're watching Sampras. You're drawn to this man of mystery, and you know who says nothing. When does and you're a squash player. You're into your racket sports. Except we've got it all.
Yeah.
While practicing the violin, we have the rounded picture of Kate Mason now. When did you first go and watch any live tennis, and was it at Wimbledon?
I think it definitely... Well, I mean, apart from obviously down at the local, like, you know, I went some pretty big games a couple of times down at the local tennis club. Not played there was some pretty fierce battles, as you're pointing out. And it was next to where I used to play rugby for a bit as well. So it was all going on down there in Oundle, this little village which I'm from. But in terms of stuff you would want to pay for, yeah, Wimbledon was the first proper tennis that I went to see. I'm a little bit nervous about saying which one my first one was because of this slightly dodgy memory of mine. I was allowed to skive off school to go because, you know, you can get ticket, like if you're part of a tennis club. My mum, I think, like joined this tennis club so that you could potentially get tickets. And so I was allowed to skive off school. So I know it's within that time. And I know I definitely saw Serena Williams. This is amazing. I definitely saw a Serena Williams semi-final, and I'm pretty sure it was the Amelie Mauresmo one in 2004. But it could have been an earlier one in that time. So either way, it doesn't matter because all of these like years kind of blend into one because it was that like going to the place, going to this like hallowed, bizarre place that I'd seen on TV, got my posters ready. I don't know why I didn't take a poster. I was probably too old by this stage. And then my parents saying that I could miss school to go and watch this game, like, or whatever, to go for this day. That's quite interesting, isn't it? Like, not the sort of, as you're probably getting the picture, not the sort of thing that I would expect necessarily to happen. So that kind of said, obviously, that it's like special. And Serena Williams, like the Venus and Serena thing, like, I don't know. Yeah, I was kind of obsessed with that. I thought it was the coolest thing ever that these two kind of women who are outside of what people think of as what definitely is the traditional tennis route, coming in there and beating the crap out of people and just really looking as though they meant it and they were in charge. And again, unfortunately, because I could check this, but I'm not sure of the year, but I think I was much younger. So shit, it can't be 2004. I was much younger, like young enough to be going, maybe I'm like 13. I was young enough to be asking for autographs. And we went for some food either before or after we'd been to Wimbledon. So I reckon I've been 3 times with my parents. And I went to the loo and bloody Venus Williams walked into the toilet. So I'm like a youngish kid, and there's Venus Williams in the bathroom, like, right, and she's really tall. You know, I'm little, obviously, and she's really tall. And I was just like, I don't know if that's my first experience of being near somebody I'd seen on TV, but it was just, man, I don't know. I was just completely like standing there in the toilet, and I think she was on the phone. So I thought she was talking. She had walked in on the phone, and I thought she was talking to me. And I got incredibly excited, but of course she wasn't talking to me. But it was just, I don't know why that is, like that thing of when you're young and you get to be physically in the same space as someone you think is amazing or you've seen doing amazing things. It's like mind blowing. I don't know why.
It's almost like they're real, and I'm sure you didn't reach out and touch her. And, you know, it would have been.
I didn't, but I want. Yeah, you want to because you're like, is this happening?
I remember my one and only visit to Wimbledon, and I didn't get in through the tennis club route. I went, and we might talk about it later. I went and camped in Wimbledon Park and did the queue.
Oh, well done. Yeah, I've never done that.
It's interesting. I'll tell you.
Whose idea was that? Your idea? How did that come about?
Okay, it was sort of like the golden time, sort of for the men's singles. And I was living in Leicester, and I was living with my friend James, and we basically didn't really have jobs. We were sort of in that post-university summer, and we were like, and we watched Andy Murray win in the fourth round. We'd watched Nadal win. We'd watched Federer win. And we kind of we knew about the Q. And we were like, well, we know that the men's quarterfinals on the Wednesday, as it used to be, is the last day that they do the Q tickets. And we figured out that if we went down on the Tuesday, because of getting the train from Leicester, we would have missed out on the first 500, which would have given us the choice of centre court, court one, wherever the best games were. So we just, after either after Murray won or after Federer won, we just got the train down to London with a tent. Wow. And so so we camped on the Monday night, and on the Tuesday morning they're coming round for giving out the Tuesday tickets, and we're like a bit sheepish, like, actually we want the Wednesday tickets. And they were like, wait there. And I thought, oh, God, we're such losers. We're going to be the first people here. And there were already 100 people ahead of us who were already camping. So we camped 2 days. And I saw Federer lose to Berdych in the quarterfinals, which was incredibly rare. Yeah. But before that, we're just walking around the grounds after you've been let in. And this presence zooms past me. And it's Roger Federer. It's very much like your Venus Williams thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like... And I don't know why, I just start following him.
Oh no!
But he was, and
you can't follow people, James.
He went to a practice court, so we're there, and I'm in the front row of this practice court, just watching him warm up. And
so you're the reason he lost to Berdych. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, maybe he was repulsed or something like that. And then
intimidated, I was thinking.
And then he saw me 5 hours later, also quite near where he was sitting, because you get the sort of low seats, don't you, when you go through the queue? And I was there. But yeah, it's this superstars have a magnetism, and Venus obviously definitely a superstar, Federer definitely super, and you're just drawn to them. But the grounds, and because it's so lovely and everyone's so middle class, and everyone, even if they're not, they're pretending to be for the day, and it's just like everyone's really it's just like, it's so weird. I loved it though. I love it. It's such a lovely arena.
Yeah, it's so weird. And that's such an interesting, by the way, the thing about superstars and the magnetism, it's that strange thing from if you've seen somebody on a screen as well. Like obviously those people are extremely famous, but there's something very strange about because I thought a bit about it, because doing TV, there's something very strange about looking at a person on a telly, because you don't really look at people that, like, apart from maybe your best friends when you're having a really big heart to heart, you hardly ever look at anyone, and they're never that big, right? Sometimes if you've got a massive TV, they're all like up in your grill. So this is, I think, why people like fall in love with, people they see in films and all that sort of stuff. Apart from because film stars are gorgeous, but yeah, it's like hyper real when you then see the person, because you see them so many times. It's like you know them really well. So yeah, I didn't stalk Venus Williams, unlike you with your Federer story, but I wanted to.
I mean, I don't know what I would have done if he'd gone into the bathroom. We never know that, and I'm very glad for her that you weren't clutching a Venus Williams poster at the time, or even worse, a Serena Williams poster. Can you imagine?
Well, she was having him, and she was there too. So then I came back out, and they were sitting down for dinner. So yeah, they were all there. I can't remember who they were with, and my parents kind of made me go and ask for an autograph. I was much too intimidated to do that. And I probably was at the stage. If I'm like a young teenager, excuse the timings again, but I'm that's got to be it, right? I don't think I would have wanted to do that at all. I would have found that incredibly socially awkward. And they didn't, I don't know if I thought this then, but they were having their dinner. I don't know if I felt like that was the right thing to do. But anyway, I did do it, and they did sign my stuff. But they didn't really like engage. Fine.
And now it's on eBay. So.
And now I'm a millionaire. Yeah. So yeah, but I suppose that's the other thing about it. That's the great thing about going to. Maybe that is special for Wimbledon, and like it would happen. It happens at like lower down or not so mainstream sports. You do just run into the people that you're going to see. Like I've been to a lot of squash events in my time, and the people who are playing are always just wandering around. Because it's not so cordoned off. And I think that's the other thing, like you were saying about the Wimbledon, all of the stuff around it and the way that people are wandering around being a bit posh for the day. It's quite, I don't know, it's quite endearing.
When you're there, you get kind of swept up in it, don't you? It's nice to cosplay, and the strawberries and cream are ridiculously expensive, and you might normally want a pint of lager, but suddenly you're on a G&T, you're on a Prosecco or something like that. There's a weird form of sort of social conforming, trying to sort of conform to your surroundings, and I think it sort of just elevates it. And there's lots of manners with Wimbledon, like the not being allowed to go in during the games, and the military personnel who are the steward, who are stewarding, and it's all, there's that level of formalness which isn't there at lots of sporting events. I think if you had that as sort of like your week in, week out, it wouldn't work. You couldn't imagine like a really posh football club going, we're all gonna just drink nice long drinks, spirit and mixer, and we're all going to politely clap. It wouldn't work. But because it's a special occasion venue, it somehow works.
I think it's okay. Yeah, you can do things occasionally. I mean, all this stuff with royalty. Yeah, I know they're having a tough time at the moment, so I see them as sort of purely decorative, and so it's I don't, I'm not like, oh yay, here's the royals coming out to do their thing, but it does sort of fit in that space. I tell you also, speaking of royalty, Sue Barker, of course, walking around and speaking on centre court, that was another one for me as well, thinking, obviously she has got great sporting heritage herself, but she is such a great, like, warm broadcaster. People always say that she's so skilled to work with. Not that I was knowing this when I was like 13 or whatever, but she, I was always, she was another one where I really thought, oh shit, these are people who are really at the top of their game here. That would be amazing if I could do something like that.
She was such a good broadcaster. I think people forgot that she was a really great tennis player, and it was almost like she was in that.
They don't say that about Gary Lineker.
You're not looking for a job with Goalhanger?
Gary Lineker's a very good Gary Lineker's a very good broadcaster, but he never lets you forget, does he? That's totally true. And that's pretty rare, isn't it? I mean, I guess we'll get it more now, because there's so many more, in particular, female players of all sports coming in and doing it. But yeah, I think she realised, there's someone else it's this hangover. I can't believe I'm doing this on a hangover. I'm sorry, James. Imagine the amazing podcast you could have had if I hadn't been hungover. I've just come on in here and laid waste to your listening figures.
Somehow I think, this will, I think it will actually perform better. I'm not sure it'll go in any award reel, but I think people will like it.
Thank you. You're smart to say that, because you know what it's like. It's you gotta keep your morale up so you don't fall into the doldrums and question all your choices in life. I've got a Metro column. I write for Metro a couple of times a month, and I got to come up with something to say. Oh God, I always feel so insecure about writing about stuff, because it's there forever, and even if people will read it, because it's on the tube and it goes to loads of people. And so, when you're talking, it's all just sort of, it's gone, isn't it? I mean, not really, because people can clip it up and tell you how much they hate you. But with the written down stuff, like I did English at Cambridge. I was supposed to be able to write stuff.
So getting back to this podcast turned therapy session, which is.
Should I get the gin?
If you do, I will. So that better not have been gin, because that was a whole mug. Can you remember sort of? Well, I guess we've talked a little bit about the tradition.
Yeah,
but some of that tradition is sort of twee and nice. The military personnel, Middle Sunday, which is gone now. I kind of like the whites. I think it gives it a different point of view from other tournaments. Lack of sponsorship, although Emirates are actually sponsoring Wimbledon from this year, which will be a bit of a change to see some. Your eyes have just, Yeah, there's going to be some more. There's going to be quite a lot of sponsorship on.
That
or
shows
more
I haven't been
sponsorship
working
than
on
we're
tennis
used
for
to.
a while. Jesus, yeah, okay, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
So some of that tradition is sort of is almost nice and endearing, and then some of the tradition is a little bit. Well, it's not very progressive, is it? You know, Wimbledon was the last Grand Slam to equalise the prize money.
Yeah.
Still used Mrs. and Miss. You know, up until 2 years ago, Chris Evert was on the honours board as Mrs. John Lloyd. You know, for when she won in 1981.
Cripes.
There's constant complaints about the scheduling of the women's matches versus the men's matches. Does any of that make you feel uneasy?
No, I'm all for it. I'm all about women being subjugated and not getting their proper place in history. More of it, I think. Why don't they get women's tournament at all? That's what I want. Yeah. Oh God. I think the thing about the prize money is completely balmy. I follow it through the lens of like the all these cool women who've struggled through and taken on the, you know, Billie Jean King taking on the establishment and all this sort of stuff. So I think there's this book I was reading recently called Difficult Women. Difficult Women by Helen Lewis, and it's a whole load of stories of women who've like gone on through history and changed things, you know, like stuff to do with abortion laws in Ireland, who was instrumental in kind of changing that, and there's stuff about women's sport in there too. So that's the perspective I tend to see these things from. Britain's a strange place, isn't it? Because what we're talking about, with all of these traditional things does seem to feed into this. And with me doing more of the cricket now as well, cricket has got its own weird things going on. And I think people within these environments, sometimes it's their safe place, isn't it? You know, they've been watching tennis or whatever since before I was born, and just people coming in here and telling them to do it differently. I was thinking recently actually about when people get older, like, you know, they supposedly get more conservative. And I think it's about, this was in context of someone I was dealing with just like in a personal capacity. I think sometimes it's in the context of like not wanting stuff to be taken away from them, because you get very old. You don't want to lose things. So it might be better, but fundamentally you just want to hold on to what you've got. And I think there's a lot of that in some of the traditions in sport. You know, it's hard for these events to keep doing really amazingly well. They're competing for eyeballs. They're worried that kids are just going to watch TikTok of a cat fighting another cat or whatever. It's this strange thing of like, well, we've been doing it like this. It's been a success. What do you want us to do?
Eventually, they've ended up in the sort of right place. We'll see on scheduling, but it always feels like it's always and this isn't a Wimbledon problem. This is a Britain problem. We always seem to be a little bit late, you know. We're like a little. It's just like we could have been there. We could have been there a little bit sooner.
Yeah, agreed.
But Wimbledon also has the queue, which is
very accessible. Yeah.
You know, so and it has the ballot. You can only win up to 2 tickets. So it's got this dichotomy of trying to sort of make it meritocratic, and it's not meritocratic winning a ballot. But trying to make it accessible. They could sell it, you know, the tickets for a lot more. They don't have to hold back tickets on the day. So it's strange. It's almost like there's like, you know, there's like an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other, and they're trying to find that commercial balance. So it's certainly not trying to, you know, like I said, I've always enjoyed watching them. I've enjoyed my one visit to it. I genuinely feel it's a special place, but we do try and point out some of the you know, some of the challenges with some of these places.
And I don't want to be like, oh, by the way, Qatar, but I just like, because it's too ludicrous. You know, you don't want to go from having a nuanced debate about stuff to then being like, well, look at these extremes over here. But I think maybe I became more jealous. I spent 2 years out in Qatar working for beIN Sports, and that'll do things to you. I became probably more I mean, maybe I'm getting old as well. This is a problem. I became much more gentle, probably, about some of the problems that we face in Britain off the back of that, because there's lots of places in the world where nobody's really trying to improve them, it seems like.
No.
And I think that clearly travel broadens the mind. For all Britain's faults, there is a rule of law.
And when you work for TNT, you don't have to hand over your passport to them.
Very good. Quite. Yeah, and and if you want to be if you want to be a maid or a cleaner or something, you're not in danger of getting potentially beaten up or prevented from leaving the country. So I remember the first day I came back from Qatar, like to move home again. I got this job at Sky, and I just got on the tube. I was just like, God, this is so incredible, because there were just people from every kind of walk of life, colour, age, just mingling, and you don't have that in Qatar. Everyone is completely organised into different races, into different genders, and so the kind of that's quite London specific probably, but the real like proper melting pot of everybody like going about their business made me feel very emotional. Actually, even when you come back into Heathrow and there's the like, I don't know when you've last flown in there, but there's like, welcome to London, and there's like a beef eater and a person who works at Brick Lane. Oh my God. Every time, if it's been an overnight flight, I'm just like, I am crying.
I had a year away from the UK once doing a sort of backpacking thing. Came back into London and I was shocked because they changed the colour of the Boris bikes.
Oh, no.
And I was just like, I've been away too long. This is no longer comfortable for me. I can't remember what it from what to what, but that was my instant reaction. Was just like, how dare you change while I was away? It was so very discomforting.
I've taken us away from things. You're doing a great job, though, of trying to make it coherent.
I think this is, I will say in interviews that I enjoy a challenge. So this is.
So I should have stayed drunk. I knew it. Sorry, James. We need to do this at 2 a.m. Well,
I will point out you chose the time as well.
Yeah, that is true. Moronic.
Going back to what's it like working at this place that's been quite,
iconic.
Pivot. Yeah. Iconic, yeah. It's an iconic place, and there's sort of been there as part of your childhood, and then eventually you get to work there. What's that like?
I was going to say that in the context of what you were saying about Wimbledon, trying to improve itself and be more progressive. I think probably having then worked there, you see more of what they're trying to do, and it's actually in some cases you work in places and you think, oh no, they look like they're trying to do a good job, but actually it's all nefarious things going on and people not really trying to do a good job. And of course with Wimbledon, you only work there as if you're a broadcaster or whatever, you're only there for a couple of weeks, so perhaps maybe there are nefarious things going on, I have no idea. But the impression I always got was that everyone was like really keen to make this the best thing ever for people who wanted to come and be a part of it. So that's the impression I had from working there. So oh my God, incredible. So I looked it up on my email to try and make sure I didn't get it wrong when I went there the first time for work. It was 2014. Okay. And I was very lucky. The way I've managed to get, because I'm not like related, I'm not some footballer's daughter or anything. So the way I've always tried to like figure out this career is just by trying to find someone who seems broadly related to the industry, talk to them, finish off talking to them, talk to someone, ask them who they think I should talk to, blah, 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 on and on and on. I have a spreadsheet for that as well. And which is lucky because otherwise I forget them all. And that was how I got to be doing this gig. So someone knew somebody had worked with somebody, blah, blah, blah. And they said, oh, do you want to come and write on the website for the championships? And, oh, God. So I'm a little way out of university, so I hadn't really been doing a lot of writing. I got a job just in a random like tech company when I left university, just so I could move to London. I was from the countryside, and so I was like, oh God, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, because first of all, I don't have encyclopedic knowledge of all of these tennis people, and I've not really written lots of stuff quickly, because that's the challenge. But obviously you can't say no, because amazing.
Yeah.
And I think I was probably terrible at it. I mean, I was trying to find some of my pieces to see if I'd written anything half decent, and they had good sub editors, so I'm sure they would have made it seem quite good. But yeah, I couldn't find them. Maybe they've been wiped from the annals of history.
But been changed to staff reporters.
Exactly, and then
protect
cut.
the innocent.
Yeah. But it's unbelievable, because you go and you get your pass. So this is this like magical pass that you get, and you can just go to wherever. You can literally go wherever. So that was basically what I did on the first day. I was just like walking around backwards and forwards all the courts, and then just going into centre court. What? Insane. I had one experience of doing that before. You know, like at the end of the day, I must have been on like a ground pass. This is one of these unspecified dates that I came to Wimbledon with my parents, and then, you know, at the end of the day, everyone's left, or there's like one game on, you can just like walk in and catch the end of a game. But yes, you could do it for every game in all courts. It was unbelievable. Obviously, I had some games that I was supposed to be writing about, so I knuckled down a little bit after that. But I think that was when I first met Claire Balding as well. So it really was like a kid in a canny store, just wandering around, being amazed by it all. You can see why I might not have been writing very good articles. But yeah, it was just that freedom to really get behind the nuts and bolts of the place, and to go up to where they sit on the roof and broadcast the radio stuff as well, which I then the following year I was on the radio coverage live at Wimbledon. I don't know if it's called that still. Yeah, it's just that sense of being, you know, because I was saying at the beginning, that theatrical nature of the place. There's just that sense of being within it. It was quite magic. And plus, there's so many crazy people. You get to go on the radio more, because I was just doing match reports basically for the other thing. You get to go and talk to all the people in the queue, and who are sitting on the hill, and they've got hats on for some reason, or they've got like, there's so many people who've like put together tennis balls on their hats, or wearing a special dress that they've made for the occasion. It's adorable.
It does attract a certain type of British eccentric. If you were to put the Venn diagram of people who go to Wimbledon and people who queue for like royal weddings, there would be a strong. I think there's a strong overlap. Yeah, the Union Jack hats are transferable for a start, and then I think there's a strong overlap in those audiences, and obviously I was one of them once. Not a royal.
Did you have a Union Jack hat on?
I don't think we did.
Or a tennis ball sculpture on your?
No, and I never went to the Hill. I find the concept of the Hill strange. Like, people go, I know it's not a lot, but you're there and you could be watching some live sport, or you're essentially going to sit to watch a giant telly.
It's because it's a communal experience, James. I sat on the Hill. I went just this summer. No, what year are we in? Last summer. I watched a bit on the Hill. I wanted to see what was going on. I wanted to be a part of all the the people cheering.
And I've done that. Like, there's a strange little bit of London that probably no one will know. It's called Bressenden Place. It's near Victoria. They have a big screen up.
Oh, yeah. I used
to work near there.
Yeah.
So I would very happily watch Wimbledon. I'd take 2-hour lunch breaks. I've left there a long time ago.
Where was this?
I'd take 2 hour. Oh, it was disabled children's charity. Damn. You know.
So you're going to be like, it was the Telegraph. Everyone would be like, fine.
No. But you'd have Wimbledon on, people would be watching it. It'd be great. But like, if I'm in the grounds, I just can't imagine wanting to watch it on the telly. I just don't. It's not me. But I'm glad this is the thing. Everyone enjoys sport differently, and there's no right or wrong way to enjoy it. That's why I like talking about lots of different sports, lots of different grounds. And if you like the Hill, you like the Hill. That's
it's got to be for the game that people are. I think Murray was playing when I went, and so everybody was just kind of, their attention is just on that. in the whole space. So I was sort of milling around, just like seeing things and trying to get a sense of the vibe. And you know that like just there, it's the thing about sport generally. It's like you can be in the middle of a game of football and feel like you're just at the center of the world. And I think it's the attention, the sense of the attention of the court and the people around it in the grounds and then the world. It's all magnifying. I don't know. It's like the hyperrealism thing about Venus Williams almost. You're like living in a bit of history. That's why The Hill is good.
That's why The Hill is good.
Just in case you felt like we hadn't got any more mad theories over the course of this podcast. There's another one for you. The Hill is good because it's like being at the centre of the world.
I guess the other thing, the sort of big development that I don't know if you have a strong opinion on, is in the last, 15 years ago, they added the roof, which I know why they had to do it. I'm not sure it's...
You're not into it. You're a roof denier.
I believe it exists. I'm not a flat roofer.
So good. You just want Elton. No, who is it who always sings? You just love a bit of... Is that your dog? You got a dog? Oh, is your dog all right?
Apologies for the interruption there of my dog, but you mentioned Cliff Richard in a sort of osmosis way by referring to him as Elton John. Which is
You're not going to cut that bit. People have got the impression that I'm...
the things you want me to cut, it's that bit. We'll cut that bit. It's fine. We'll cut that bit.
No, keep it all in. People need to know that you shouldn't drink.
Okay. So for research of this, and I think you will forever be on my enemies list because of this, I watched the full 18 minutes of Cliff Richard singing at Wimbledon in 1996.
You did not. That is... Why did you have to watch the whole 18 minutes?
18 minutes. Because there's a whole string of female tennis players who come out and act as his backing.
Stop.
Not even singers, because they're not singing. They're clapping along. It's Pam Shriver. She's the ringleader. She's the one who I'm now against in mortally.
Yeah.
There's Hannah Mandikova, Conchita Martinez.
No, not Conchita Martinez.
Noah Rancher Sanchez Vicario. She has integrity. Martina Navratilova was there. Virginia Wade was there. Virginia
Wade was there. Crap. All these people
Strange.
destroying their... Oh, God, I'm looking at a picture of it. He's got like a green and... Oh, it's like a Wimbledon colours outfit that he's wearing.
And quite frankly,
This is the subjugation of women that we were talking about earlier.
Some of the hip movement is, in modern terms, offensive.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
But I think this is one of the most famous sort of moments, obviously, from centre court's history, in the rain, and someone puts a mic in his hand and he can't help himself.
Just do 3 minutes, though, mate. What are you doing? Not even.
But yeah, it's a full set. He's even got a cover in there. He's not just doing his songs, he's covering Elvis. We don't need to pad this out anymore. And thank goodness the rain stopped, because who knows where it would have gone. There's this all, and this is sort of the quintessential sort of centre court thing there. I don't think anyone there is enjoying it. I think there is a lot of polite clapping along. And at one point, the camera focuses on Joanna Lumley, and she realises that if she doesn't sort of like play along and sing along, because when it comes on her, I'm sure it's a scowl. And she's like, oh, now I'm on BBC One, and now I've got to pretend to like Cliff Richard. And she's like, yeah, this is great.
Oh no. I mean, but if like Stormzy or someone got up, it probably would be all right.
I mean, can you who would be the equivalent now? Who would they ask? Probably Ed Sheeran. They'd probably ask Ed Sheeran, wouldn't they? Or Ellie Goulding.
I reckon he'd be able to handle it a bit better, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Do you not think?
But yeah, I watched that whole 18 minutes.
You are a glutton for punishment. But anyway, so you, with your dislike of the roof, you would be having way more of that stuff, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, I suppose that's a big tangent. The best moments in Wimbledon for me were always this bit when the sun was dwindling. Yeah. There's a certain sort of time where that sort of, when the sun's really low and you get that sort of Nadal-Federer final, or the Federer-Roddick final, and the players are not just battling each other, they're sort of battling sunlight. And I don't know, that was almost like the perfect Wimbledon moment for me, and we don't get that now.
Yeah.
And it's selfish, because it's obviously better, but maybe it's me becoming more conservative as I become older. I just want what I always had, and what I was always used to, even if what's currently happening is objectively better.
Doesn't sound as good either, does it? The noise becomes weird when they put the roof on.
The lighting is very. I don't. It just doesn't look like Wimbledon, and
it looks like it's sort of like a swimming pool or something,
swimming pool.
Doesn't it? There's like, I don't know what the light becomes diffuse, or I'm not sure.
And I'm against day-night Test cricket.
Oh, are you? Okay. This is a theme. This is a theme. No, that's good. That's good. That is. It's nice seeing people battle with different stuff, different conditions. That's longer as well.
It is, and I guess it's the thing about, we don't need to talk about day-night Test cricket because
give the people what they want.
This is why loads of people love Centre Court, and I don't want to give the impression that I don't, because it's genuinely a magical place, and it's there every year, and it's sort of ubiquitous, and we've been spoiled. The last 20 years we've had Tim Henman, and we've had Andy Murray, and compared to what went before, the Jeremy Bates, Joe Jury era, and obviously no slight on them, far better athletes, far better tennis players than I ever. But we've had a rooting interest in every Wimbledon for about the last 20 years, which is 25 years going back to Tim Henman. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, Andy Murray, I think is he still a divisive character?
No, everybody loves Andy Murray now.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. Yeah, because I remember that whole thing with the saltire and all that stuff. But and would I want, in that context, it was something, I don't remember what tournament it would have been, but the thing about like, will you be backing England? No, obviously not. It's like, well, yeah, good on you.
Yes. It's absolutely fine. I think English people need to understand our role. Make up about 85% of the country, and the other 15% pretend to not like us, or some cases
really don't like us.
Most of them, they, at least in sport, they pretend not to like us, and that's fine. But no, everybody loves Andy Murray. The stuff that he does around promoting the women's game as well. I love it when he corrects journalists, and he's just like, "You're the first person to do this," and he'll be like, "First men's player."
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Well, I suppose in which case, I'm sure there's probably are lots of people who don't like him, who maybe don't think that you should do that sort of thing. But yeah, obviously he's and what I like about him in the moment as well, lots of people are like, why won't he give up? What's his problem? But I'm into it. I think it's, again, this is sport. This is, if you want to keep going after this thing, even though it's been however many years since he last, reached the business end of a big tournament, a decade or something since he last reached the business end of a big tournament, he keeps going out there, and he's trying to make it work, and he's got a hip that's not his own hip, or what exactly resurfacing is. And I just think that's to be celebrated, really. Like, when I was younger, I used to think, what you should do is go out there, win something, be Emma Raducanu, or maybe not, maybe win a few more things, and then just like sail off into the distance. But now, maybe because I like the idea of these people struggling away in their mid-30s.
There's some classic examples from tennis, like Jimmy Connors made the semi-finals in 1991, almost at 40. He'd struggled for years, and you can sort of capture lightning in a bottle. I really liked when Beyond Board came back, the sort of Beyond Board comeback.
Yes, that's another great one. Yeah.
I'm too old. I'm playing with and it's just like you're getting absolutely destroyed in tournaments 10 years after he last played. I think that should be your column. I think Andy Murray struggles, and
unfortunately, I think I've already written about that. Damn it! Yeah, I don't know. Unfortunately, Dave, who edits it, wasn't at the Sports Journalist Awards last night, so I can't. I think it's his birthday today, actually. I can't. But anyway, so I can't trust him being, like less concentrating than usual.
Well, here's a weird one, and we'll end on a pitch, and this probably won't work for this week, but the 23rd of April. I think it's the 23rd of April. It might be the 23rd of March. There is an unusual concentration of sports people born on the same British sports legends. Born on the same day.
I love this.
Mo Farah, Chris Hoy, So Roger Bannister, Steve Redgrave, Mike Atherton are all born on the same day. It's
Oh my
weird.
goodness. That's so cool. I saw Mike Atherton last night, by the way. He's the coolest. Let me find. It will never stop being cool. I'm trying to find it which the date is. 23rd of March. 23rd of March.
Oh, it's
So
almost
it's just
topical.
happened.
There you go.
Oh, damn it. I could have wished him a happy birthday. Then he wouldn't have, No, he chatted to me for a while. There were lots more important people in the room he should have been talking to. That's really cool. I love that sort of thing. Do you listen to? I bet you listen to Malcolm Gladwell stuff, revisionist history.
Yes, not for a while, but yes.
There's a good one about people, about this not controlling for the fact that people are born at the beginning or the end of an academic year.
Yeah.
And for how, those ones, if you're old for your year, you're skewed way more into the, into like playing for England or whatever, playing in, I think the sport that was being used to talk about it was ice hockey. I think that was the analysis that they had, but it seemed to be true across all sports. Really, I just find it so interesting. It's that maybe this does tie back into the whole thing about like liking an organized sporting thing to look at. I've been radical. I've been in two opposite directions here, because I said I like all these wacky people who are just throwing themselves down mountains and don't give a shit if it's raining or not, and then just deal with it as it comes. But then I like the ordered, magical pretend world of Wimbledon. So I think you can have both, can't you? That's the joy of sport. You can love every single weird iteration of the world that it is.
You have your day to day, which is, and it's nice to be able to explain the day to day and understand the forces sort of acting on those, which typically are money, but then you get those romantic bits of sport which money can't explain. And why does a 39-year-old Jimmy Connors get to the semi-finals of Wimbledon when he should have no right to? And those are the stories that we can attach ourselves to. And like we said at the beginning, sport is story, and these are just these venues are the stages in which the story is told, and that's why we love them so much, because we have the affinity to the story, and these are just the venues where we get to experience them.
Agreed. That's a lovely point. I think also it's the security of knowing it's going to be back there next year as well.
Yeah, like Augusta.
Like that's actually a magical thing. Say again.
Like Augusta, it's really comforting knowing that you're going back to the same place, and
that's right. Really advanced society, isn't it? To be able to have the security to know that you can go back and play a game in the same place next year and the year after that, and you've got 200 years of history behind you, and oh man, I don't want to get too much into the context of what's going on elsewhere in the world, but that is a bloody great privilege.
It really is, and it's one of those nice things that we have with the sporting calendar in this country. We have the tent poles that make us feel grounded and connected, and that can be intergenerationally as well. It's a wonderful place. I think Centre Court is really magical, and if anyone ever gets the chance, just go get a grounds pass. Wait at the end of the day to get onto Centre Court. It's just a wonderful place to go.
Brilliant.
Okay, thank you very much. I am looking forward to the edit.
Oh, help yourself. Yeah, sorry if there's any crap. Jesus, yeah.
Well. I mean, fair play to Kate. I mean, if I was that hungover and I had a podcast to do the next morning, I'd have cried off. She soldiered through, and by the end of it, well, not even by the end of it, I think she had a good time all the way through. And it was a wide-ranging chat, and it was a really fun chat. And I hope you liked it. Next week, we have Johnny Owen. Johnny Owen is, how do you describe Johnny Owen if you don't know Johnny Owen? Johnny's been a musician, he's been an actor, he's been a presenter, he's been a filmmaker. He's now co-running with his partner, wife, not sure, one of the two, Vicky McClure. He's running a nightclub all across the UK called Day Fever, which is taking, for middle-aged people like myself, putting on a club night during the middle of the day so you don't get too tired. Johnny also hosted on TalkSport for years. So Johnny is fantastic, a man of many, many talents, but to his core, he's a Merthyr boy. He's from Merthyr Tydfil in South Wales, and we're going from centre court at Wimbledon, something that we see on telly every single year, to something that a little bit more niche, a little bit, we're going non-league. We're going to go to Penderyn Park, the home of Merthyr Town FC in the Southern Premier, Southern Central something league, down in the 7th tier of English football. So yeah, we're going to talk about a famous non-league ground, and we're going to talk about the time that Merthyr beat Atalanta. Until next week.